Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. This is our last webinar for the year. It's entitled How to Start a Successful Investment Club. My name is Sean van den Berg. I'm from PSG Online. I head up client education. Those of you that do know me, you know that investment clubs are very close to my heart. I'm very passionate about it as a vehicle for the man on the street to learn more about the market, but also for him to get involved in making money on the market. So welcome to our webinar. There's a lot of regulars on this webinar, so I appreciate it. Thanks for your support. And there are some new faces in here, or new names I don't recognize. Like we do with every webinar, this presentation is being recorded. So after this presentation, I'll be sending you the PDF of the PowerPoint presentation as well as the recording. The idea there is obviously for review purposes, and obviously you can send me questions from that. Talking about questions, as we go along, just type up your questions in the little box, and then and I'll try and answer it at the end of the presentation. Okay. Can someone just type in the question box if you can hear me clearly before we go on, do a bit of a sound check. I appreciate that. Yes, great. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Jacques. Okay, appreciate it for the speedy response. Okay, so let's get into it. As I say, our last webinar for the year. I'm not going away, but I've got a lot of work for next year. And I know you guys could have been sitting in some restaurant having end of year silly season lunch somewhere. So I appreciate you being here with me today. Okay, there's the agenda. We're going to give a quick overview of what is the investment clubs. And I want to highlight the advantage of the investment club. As I say, I believe it's one of the better vehicles for the man on the street to get involved in the market. As the topic says, it's to help you get started. I know there are quite a few of you that are thinking of starting a club. So we'll discuss that. And then we'll discuss some of the pitfalls that I found being involved in quite a few investment clubs over the years. And on the highlights of success stories, obviously this is more American-based, and how these guys work. Okay, so let's get into it. So obviously you're on this webinar today, but I'll ask you the question, why do you want to be part of an investment club? And that's a very important question to ask. You know, is it because you just want to be involved socially, or do you want to just be out of the house, be away from the wife, whatever the case might be? So you need to ask, I always say the bigger the why, the easier the how. So that's the motivation behind why you want to get involved in investment clubs. So what is so special about investment clubs? And we'll discuss this in this presentation today. But also I think it's important to understand what is required of you as a potential investment club member. And I think, number one, you're on this webinar because and I think it's a curiosity, but I think what's more important is enthusiasm. And I know quite a few of you on this webinar. I know you guys personally, I've met you. You do have enthusiasm for the markets. So I believe having enthusiasm for the market is one of the criteria, but also having enthusiasm for being involved in the club is very, very important. So that desire to learn, and I know many of you have that already, but also I believe very, very importantly, you want to have fun along the way. So this is a quick introduction, but into the nitty-gritties. What is an investment club? Ultimately, it's a group of people. So you must understand we're dealing with people, and this is where sometimes clubs fall apart. You know, we have this disunity, and we have a bit of war, and wherever the case might be, and clubs fall apart. But you always understand we're always working with people. The idea is that we're going to meet regularly. When I say regularly, at least once a month. Okay, so it's very time friendly. Once a month, an hour. Obviously, in between, we're going to be communicating. You communicate with the members quite often, be it email or be it phone calls and things like that. But the main object is to get together to learn about investing. Now, I want to turn this a bit on the head when I say investment clubs. This doesn't only have to be investment clubs. It can be trading clubs too. And I'm very passionate about that too. We're talking about it. But the idea is that ultimately we're going to learn how to invest, how to trade, but also how to research companies properly, be it from a fundamental point of view or be it from a technical point of view. But very importantly, we make a collective investment decision. We make a collective decision to invest in shares. I'm talking about the buy zone. So instead of sitting there by yourself and being swayed by emotions and being swayed by market sentiment, together you make a more what I call a collaborative approach to the market. And that's why I think it's very, very important and very powerful part of investment clubs. But ultimately, the idea is that we're going to be able to purchase shares by using the pool of money, and also obviously focusing on the shares with the highest potential for growth. So that, in a nutshell, is call it a description of an investment club. So I believe the biggest secret to investment clubs is the letter L, big letter L, leverage. Okay, we're leveraging off other people's money, and we're leveraging off other people's time. This, to me, is one of the biggest secrets to the success of investment clubs. And as I said just now, you can sit there all by yourself as a sole investor, looking at the markets, and a lot of people always beg me to have some forum we can discuss the markets. Here's a forum. Here's your forum is where you can discuss the market, leveraging off similar-minded people, also enthusiastic about the market. But we could pool our money together so we have a vested interest in the group success, but also leveraging of time. So you can split the club up, and you say, okay, let's leverage off 10 people's time and do 10 company researchers, for example. So that's what I believe is one of the biggest secrets to the club. As I say, it must be fun and sociable. Obviously, it must be profitable. That's why you want to start this business, because you want to learn how to make money. But also I believe, and this is where obviously my passion comes in, the investor education. You must have some element of investor education. I want to go along to the meeting every month because I know it's fun and sociable. I know we're making money, and I'm going to learn about the market. Ultimately, I'm going to learn how to make better investment decisions. And from that, there's nothing stopping you to still start your own investment portfolio. Pick it back on the back of investment club decisions. Okay, but that's what I wanted to highlight quickly, is that leverage is the biggest secret to investment clubs. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritties. Starting investment club. I know some of you might be investors or might be members already. So before we just get into that, I just want to quickly put out a poll just to see who's my audience. How many of you are currently involved with an investment club? If you can just get involved there. Okay, give me some feedback. Most of you are not involved in investment clubs. Okay. Well, if you're not involved in investment clubs, obviously, I hope you have an interest in investment clubs. Okay, great. Wow. Okay. It says 93% of you have never been involved in clubs, and 7% of you have. Okay, great. Appreciate it. Thanks. Okay, so now I'm talking to, oops, sorry, that's the wrong graph, wrong thing to come up. Go back here. Oops, sorry. Okay. I don't know why that's popping up the whole time. Let me just get rid of this quickly. Sorry. I hope you guys can still hear me. Are we still there? Okay. All right, Mr. Page here. Okay, so those of you who are thinking of starting the club, now a lot of times people ask me about joining an existing club. Now the biggest challenge of joining an existing club, because remember the secret here, yes, I'm getting some groups of people together, but most of the time it's people that they know and trust, be it family members, colleagues, or friends. So here's an outsider want to join an existing club. It is difficult. I found it's difficult. So it's much easier to start your own club. Because remember that ultimately, yes, we're starting with small amounts of money, but down the line, the portfolio might be big. So it's a matter of trust. Okay. So I suggest start your own club, and we'll go through the process just now. So start with the right people. People that will be enthusiastic about learning about the market. Someone that has a keen interest about investment clubs. Okay, you don't want the guys that come along just for a joyride. They're going to sit in the back of the room. They're not going to participate. They're not going to get involved. And I find clubs fall apart where people are not pulling their weight. Okay, everybody needs to pull their weight. Setting up an investment club is simple, if I say it that way, but it's not easy. It does take work. Like with any club, it takes time. A lot of clubs fold in because the guys are not working together, and so you need to be on the same page. Number one, number two, obviously work in the same direction. So start with the right people. Talk to your friends and family. Say, just put it out there. I'm putting it out there. I'm starting an investment club. Would you be interested? I'm having an inaugural meeting next week, Saturday afternoon, at my house at 2 o'clock. Come along. And then at the inaugural meeting, that's where you can start fleshing it out. So you can obviously invite them and then send out the emails. Start with the right people. When I say you want to have the right people, I say have a spread. Different backgrounds. The more diverse the group, the better. You don't have to have the attorney there. You don't have to have the accountant. It does help, okay? But you don't have to have them in the club. I find the clubs work best where there's a mix between men and women. I find the women are a bit more conservative when the men are cowboys, so it gives that nice little balance. So I find the best way to do it is to have it spread. And then ask those people that come along to the meeting, who do they know? And before you have your first members meeting, you got your club. How many people in the club? I suggest between 10 and 15. Don't go too many. And I've been involved in a lot of Stokvels, and these guys have hundreds of members. That's too wieldy. You'll find the guys are sitting in the back not pulling their weight. So between 10 and 15. I like the number of 15 because you'll see just now with a different member responsibilities. It's a nice little number to work with. And also, obviously, going on to our next point here, the starting contributions. You got 15 people, obviously, and let's say, for example, we decide on starting contributions. Just to kickstart the club, we need to start with 200 Rand, or be it 500 Rand, or 1,000 Rand. Okay? Now, your very first month, you'll have 15,000 Rand if you had to work on 1,000 Rand to kickstart it, buying your first share. Okay? If you had only had 5 members, you'll have 5,000. It'll take you a bit longer. So the idea of having a starting contribution is just to kickstart the club as such, number one. Number two, you also find out who are the serious guys. So I like to have a starting contributions a bit higher than the monthly contributions. So be it 500 Rand and your monthly contributions is 200 Rand, whatever the case might be, 1,000 Rand and your monthly contributions 250 Rand. But that's one way of sifting out the serious people. Okay, but the main idea is obviously to kickstart, and you've got money in your kitty. Okay, you have to wait months and months before you start getting involved. Decide on monthly contributions. And by the way, when I say decide, this is collectively. Everybody has to agree with it. Everybody has to be happy with the contributions. If you've got a split between half of the people want 500 Rand and half of the people want 1,000 Rand, then go for 750, whatever the case might be. But it must be agreeable to everybody. Okay, monthly contributions must be affordable for everybody every single month. Now, no use going with 1,000 Rand, most people won't be able to do that every month. It would be a stretch. Rather go for 250 Rand or 500 Rand a month. Okay, so decide on the club structure. Now, this is also very, very important. Now, some clubs start out informally, and down the line, obviously, the portfolio grows and grows, and now you're starting with a big portfolio, and then you worry about tax, etc. Okay, so there's 3 ways to look at it. I wrote a document a few years ago, and I'm still in the process of just updating it now. In the past, we talked about a general partnership. That is how most clubs would be structured, as a general partnership. Some companies some clubs go one step further. They set themselves up as a company. It's more for the people that have higher tax levels, more professional people with higher tax. Obviously, company tax is much lower. But also, there's the third step now, and a lot of people don't know about it. It's what we call a volunteer association. Most soccer clubs, for example, are volunteer associations. Now, the challenge with a general partnership, for example, is that you as a partner involved in an investment club, if one of the partner's wives, I'm using an example, goes out and makes 10,000 Rand debt with shoes, for example, you're eligible for that kind of debt. So that's at risk involved in the general partnership. Whereas a volunteer association, that falls away. So I say I have written this document with these pros and cons. That should be available in January. Be able to download from our website. You can look at the pros and cons. But a lot of guys are going towards that route. I know that on our website, for example, we still have to amend our criteria for volunteer association. But just consider there are 3 different structures. You need to have that entity in place. Okay. So obviously, when you open up an account with PSG, for example, the process would be that the club would nominate one person to open up the account in their name, be it in the club's name, and then obviously using the club's particular details, or one person's details. But the entities are important also. So obviously the constitution or the club's rules or those kind of things have to be submitted too. Okay. So club structure is important. Then also decide on a regular meeting date. I like to always be consistent. That's why I always have my webinars on a Wednesday. Every second Wednesday, preferably at 1 o'clock. People get into a habit. It's the same thing with your club. Be it the first Tuesday of every month or the second week of every month. Okay, so it's always the same date or same week, same time. 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Give people time to get home from work, whatever the case might be. Duration, I suggest keep it to about an hour. Location, I find the easiest to work, sometimes find someone's got an office with a boardroom. That's convenient for everybody. It's close by. I find it also convenient to find some clubs, be it a sports club, meet in one of their rooms. An idea of the sport club also afterwards, we can go sit in the bar and have a few drinks socially. The one club I know out in Centurion, these guys are a bunch of conveyancing attorneys. They order some pizzas and they have beers while they're having the meeting. So it is sociable while they're having the meeting. But the idea is that stick to an hour. And obviously you'll have an agenda. And we'll discuss the office bearers now, the club secretary and the club chairman's function within that meeting. So it's very important to set that out. And everybody has to agree. A convenient time, convenient place, everything. So remember, democratically, everybody has to agree on these things. Then elect office bearers. Ultimately, obviously, the club has the same, everybody has the same rights, everybody has the same membership criteria as such, but some people will have additional responsibilities. So the office bearers, I talk about the four main people. Number one, the club chairman. This is usually the person that deals with the stockbroker. They want to be placing the orders online. Okay, that's a person whose name the club will be registered in the first place. Okay, so it's usually someone, I call it the trigger man. But the club president, the club chairman, that's one of his responsibilities. His responsibility also is to chair the monthly meetings. So he's a facilitator, he chairs, he's the master of ceremonies. So he runs the investment club meetings and keeps them on track with regards to the agenda. Also very important is to have a club secretary. Now the club secretary is also a very, very important job in the sense that they take minutes at the meetings. Everything has to be recorded. And obviously, we send out the emails regarding the meetings. We send out the minutes of the meetings. All those kind of things have to be recorded and kept up to date. They're also responsible for keeping the partnership agreement or the club constitution in a safe place. All those kind of things. Okay. And then the third person, very important, is what I call the club treasurer. This is the person that maintains the money, the cash flow, the money moving into the accounts, into the trading account, money being distributed if we had a sell, whatever the case might be. But at this point in time, and this is my biggest challenge with regards to investment clubs in South Africa, I haven't come across any software that's specific to South Africa. I know there's an American company called National Association of Investment Clubs. They have a program, but it's very Americanized. And I must say also thanks to William Gravett. I know you're on this webinar, William. Thanks for sending through that email. I haven't had a chance to look at that information regarding that London-based investment club that has software. Ultimately, I like to create a software program for South Africa, but ultimately the club's treasurer is responsible for keeping records of the monies, and at this point in time is using an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, and I have some examples and things like that, and obviously we'll be fleshing it out going forward in the next few months. So those are the three main office bearers, and the fourth person can either be what I call the club vice president, club vice chairman, but I also call him the education officer. So in case the chairman's not there, this is the second in charge regarding placing orders online, managing the meetings and things like that. But this person's job is to every month have a 15-minute slot to bring up some education topic, be it technical analysis, be it fundamentals, whatever the case might be. But the idea that he's going to stimulate interest in the market by teaching people about the market. Okay, so very, very important, those four criteria. But everybody in the club has a responsibility. So if I get 4 people that are club or the office bearers, the 11 other people, their jobs, I like to split it up, and they are the research committee. Okay, they're the ones that are going to be split up. We're going to have some one group, 3 or 4 people involved in just analyzing financial shares. I'm going to have 3 or 4 people analyzing industrial shares, and I'm going to have 3 or 4 people analyzing the mining and resource sector. And then together they'll submit to the club, to the meeting, their proposals for the shares to buy. Okay, so ultimately, as a group, you'll decide which is the best shares, and obviously there's criteria to choose from, but that's a process that people will go through. So everybody has a job. Remember that office bearers, you'll have an AGM every year, and those roles will be rotated. So everybody will have a turn to be a club chairman, be a club treasurer, whatever the case might be. Okay. Very, very important is to keep records. The club secretary, as well as the club treasurer, needs to keep accurate records. Okay, electronically and obviously hard copy. So that's very, very important. So that is, in a nutshell, part of the progress of starting an investment club. Okay, let's move on. This, I believe, is one of the criteria where clubs fall apart. We do not agree on a philosophy or a strategy. Everybody has to be on the same page when it comes to investment club. So here's some principles. Here's 5 investment principles I found it works well for an investment club. Remember? So we're talking about a buy and hold strategy as opposed to buy and sell strategy. If, you know, most of you guys or half the guys want to be buy and selling and half you want to be buy and holding, you've got a problem. So you need to maybe and this is before you start the club. We need to agree, what are we going to do? People must understand the difference between being a trader and being an investor. Your time horizon is important. But as an investment club, your time horizon is 3 years plus. And if I'm buying an oldie, I'm going to have a low portfolio turnover. So people must understand that we're not going to be buying and selling, so it might be boring watching the market fly by when we're just watching our little 10 shares in our portfolio. Okay, so this is what you have to lay out to the people. But the reason why I talk about 3 years plus, remember it's an investment club. I want to buy and hold. If I'm not going to sell, there won't be tax involved because you can only be taxed on income. But if I decide to sell a share after 3 years, then capital gains tax applies, which is much lower than income tax. So those kind of things, that's why I talk about a 3 year plus the time horizon. But being an investment club, if I'm buying and holding, I'm not selling, then you have to worry about tax. Okay. One of the criteria is obviously to invest regularly, in other words, monthly. So we talk about rand cost averaging. So yes, the market's going to go up and down. We've seen the last few days, the market has pulled back radically. Those are buying opportunities. That's where we want to get excited. We want to buy the Sasols and, geez, there are a lot of other opportunities, a lot of shares that have been knocked heavily. They are still undervalued, profitable, with manageable risk. Those are the kind of companies you want to buy for the longer term. So rand cost averaging, take advantage of that. Secondly, you want to take advantage of what they call the magic of compounding. So you want to buy into companies that are going to pay out dividends, reinvest that dividends back into the business. Okay, so you can buy more shares, and then money makes money. Okay, how do we do that? By careful selection. We're going to build up a portfolio. I always talk about a balanced portfolio, a balance between financial, industrial, and mining stocks. So if the rand gets stronger, your financial shares go up. If the rand gets weaker, your rand hedge stocks or your mining or your industrial shares go up. Okay, how do I do that? By researching the companies, and this is where collectively you can leverage off other people's time. So you need to decide, as an investment club, are we going to be more value orientated, or are we going to be more growth orientated, or are we going to be both? I suggest be both. Be value and growth orientated. But also very important, you need to be prudent. Okay, you have to be wise when it comes to risk management. You want to build up a portfolio that's going to be diversified along the lines of obviously the structure. Or we can look at large cap stocks, or we can look at mid caps, or we look at small caps. Obviously, small caps a bit more risky, or we can look at more a spread between 3 and 5 different companies and between 8 and 12 different shares. All those kind of things will help you create a more successful club if everybody agrees to their strategy at the outset. Going forward, this is another thing. If you guys want to be more trading orientated, then go be a buy and sell. Be a trading club. You know, some of you might be more of a swing trading, more position trading. Position trading is more actively investing, active investor, taking advantage of long-term cycles. So yes, it's a bit more advanced strategy that takes more time, but does not remove the risk. There's no guarantees of success here. Okay, obviously more risk. I find this works better with a group of colleagues that are working together because you need to make fast decisions. Okay, so you might only be looking at top 40 stocks, and you only may, most of the time be holding five positions at the most. Using more technical analysis, using maybe breakout trading strategies, communicating more often on Twitter, WhatsApp, and creating WhatsApp groups, those kind of things. Using social media is very, very powerful when it comes to trading. But the idea is, yeah, you're going to leverage off other people's money. You got 10 guys together, each putting 10,000 Rand, you got 100,000 Rand. Now you open up a CFD account now it's leveraged up 15, if you're putting down 15% margin, your leverage is 6 times. So your 100,000 now is equivalent of 600,000. So think of this way, my 10,000 is equivalent of 600,000. So this is how you start looking at trading clubs. But also leveraging of other people's time. So now we can collectively all looking at the same stocks, we can calculate our risks and manage our money and risk better. So instead of having 2 eyes looking at the portfolio, I've got 20 eyes looking at the portfolio and watching the portfolio very, very quickly. So you want to bend the odds in your favor by obviously focusing on the stocks with the best opportunities. I'll talk about stocks in the buy zone. Okay, so this is, I'm putting it out there for you guys to think about it. I like this idea of trading clubs and something I like to take further maybe in the new year. So if you guys are interested in this kind of stuff, drop me an email. And it shows me the interest, and we can leverage off that. Okay. So why PSG Online? Obviously, our trading platform allows you to go for all the products, be it ETFs, equities, CFDs, and single stock futures. So one platform, one login, GMA. Also, obviously, the research platform. So collectively, as an investment club, you learn how to utilize this more efficiently, more effectively. Okay. And we're there to help you. PSG is there to help you as a club. Any decision, any information you need, I'm there to help you. Okay. Let's quickly just talk about some of the success stories I come across. And obviously, I've got a lot of books on investment clubs. And there's a lot of information on the websites. This is, I just want to highlight something for you. This is one of the oldest and longest lasting clubs in investing history. It's a club called the Mutual Investment Club. They're based out in Detroit. They're going for over 73 years. This started during the Second World War. Obviously, some of the guys went off to war, but they still sent their money back from the front line. So founded back in 1941, still active today, 23 investors. They invest between $10 and $50 monthly. So it's not a lot of money. But look at the time horizon. This portfolio now is over $6 million. They have averaged a return of 13.2% every single year, going on 73%. So the main idea here, these guys have taken advantage of compound, reinvest, compound growth. What I found interesting when I was reading this article, they use the same selection criteria every single time. They do not deviate from it. They got a blueprint, call it a blueprint, call it a formula. So they select quality stocks with companies with excellent growth potential. That's a secret, but everybody agrees to that. And this is how they built this portfolio up. Okay, so it's one of the oldest clubs, and they're still running in Detroit. Yet another club. This is a club I found interesting. It's just women. Started back in 1998 by a woman called Karen Housley. It's an online investment club. Okay, so that's something also you guys might want to consider. If some of you might want to join a club or you're over the world, start an investment club. It's online. But this club is only for women. It's only got 10 members, only got 10 stocks. Okay, their return hasn't been like the mutual guys. It's still outperforming the S&P 500, nearly double. Okay, 4.67. What I like about it, they got a list of 10 or 12 rules. They call it the Chicks Dozen. One of the rules what I liked was KISS, keep it simple, sister. But the idea was if I can find stocks that I understand the company, I understand the products, I understand what they do, but I'm able to explain it to someone else. If I can explain it to my 7-year-old son, then I understand the business. So I like that kind of principle, number one. Number two, they found it very important that the club must be fun and educational. Those are two very important criteria for them too. Okay. And then last one is a club that's it's been going about 14 years now. It was founded by a retired marketing manager, a guy called Colton Bailey. And this was made up of a group of family and friends. Obviously, I remember going back to what I said just now, the trust element, but it was mainly from the church, their church. But they have 20 members, and they age a nice spread, and that's what I also found interesting. It was a 50-year age gap, age spread, let's call it that way, from 22 years over to 72 years. They've got a portfolio of stocks of 18 stocks, and also they don't invest a lot of money, between 100 Rand, $100 and $10 and $100 each per month. Again, taking advantage of compound growth. What I found was interesting about this portfolio, about this club, way back in 2003, their portfolio grew by 85%. Okay. Again, their criteria is they follow a strict discipline, selection criteria. They make decisions democratically, remember, collectively. They only target stocks that are in the buy zone. I talk about the buy zone. I always use the criteria, shares must be undervalued, profitable, with manageable risk. That's from a technical point of view. And obviously, there's a lot of financial ratios on those three broad criteria. But also, I like to buy stocks that are in trending up. So it's bullish, it's oversold. So it's recycling at the bottom of the cycle, but also market outperforming. So that's what I talk about, the buy zone. They have the same kind of criteria. But they also use things like debt equity limits. They also look for companies that have growth at least 15% compounded over the last 5 years. So yes, they do more homework, a bit more prudent, a bit more astute, but this is how these guys work. Okay. So I hope you guys found some benefit out of this. Just a quick summary. Remember, the main idea I want you to get you guys across from this is leverage. Leverage of other people's money, leverage of other people's time, but also their knowledge and experience, their networks. But also, I find also very importantly is leverage of other people's motivation, other people's enthusiasm. Okay, that's what I get excited about in clubs. You get together, it's this little buzz. Okay, so if you guys are starting, think of starting a club, decide on the structure, select that executive team, decide on the monthly contribution. Very importantly, decide and agree on an investment philosophy. Are we going to be investors or are we going to be traders? Down the line, you can always, as an investment club, always open up a separate account and be traders. Okay, that's the income. The investment club is a capital portfolio. But then important that you implement it. Implement that strategy and stick to the plan. Okay. So guys, just quickly, in a nutshell, think big. Down the line, you know, the portfolio might be a few million. So think big. What are we going to do from, work backwards from there? You've got to use one of those 7 habits of highly effective people. Think back, begin with the end in mind and work backwards. So we're going to start small, but we're thinking big. Remember the advantage. You want to go into clubs, you want to start a club that's going to be profitable, that will have an element of investor education. It must be fun and social. I want to go to my club meeting this week. I don't want to miss it. That's very important. And I suggest as a club also, once the club is started, and it's registered with PSG online, for example, each club member can register a free trial account, and then we link their accounts to the investment club. So they don't pay that 40 Rand admin fee. And then collectively, you can use a simulation and paper trade, and that's how, as a group, will gain confidence. Okay. So guys, from my side, good luck and happy trading. Just quickly before we wrap up, I just want to highlight our upcoming events. Obviously, this is the last webinar for this year. My next webinar is only the 14th of January. I think most people will be back at work by the 12th. But our first webinar in January is PSG's Wealth View going forward for 2015. Okay. I think that's will be quite an interesting webinar. Okay. And then the end of January, 2 weeks later, we're going to be talking about trading for a living. I know a lot of you guys have this dream of trading for a living, so we'll talk about the pros and cons there. February, we'll be talking about investing like the best. How do I invest like Warren Buffett, Peter Lynch, John Templeton, whatever the case might be. And then this point in time, our last webinar in February is should I be investing offshore? Should I be taking money offshore now geographically? And I know a lot of guys are very negative, obviously, the whole political scenario, the whole load shedding scenario. A lot of guys are looking at taking their money offshore. And in my first Traders Forum, we'll be back in Cape Town again. I'm there in the end of January. So, and again, our topic will be what can we expect this year? So economically, politically, you name it, my little crystal ball will be working overtime. And then here in Joburg will be our first one, investing and trading part-time. Most people start part-time and then obviously go full-time. Okay. But guys, thanks a lot for your support. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me see if there are any questions quickly.